In this video, I'm going to show you how to look at paintings of trees and figure out how the person achieved the effect that they wanted. So I have several trees. This one right here is by Egon Schiele, and he drew the structure of the tree first and then used brush strokes to add the leaves. So I was thinking I could try that on this middle one. This is a tree by Harlow Carr. And Harlow Carr looked like they took the brush and instead of brushing it, stamped the brush strokes down. That's similar to Alex Katz. There's a tree by Alex Katz. So the brush strokes are just marks stamped on. And then the white areas on the trunks are just brushed laterally. Emily Carr used something called a fan brush. That's what it looks like to get these curvy edges, and I'll show you that. Hers are more slightly abstracted. I was looking at Fairfield Forders to get an idea for how I might do the texture on the bark. And this one is Georgia O'Keeffe, and she stylized the foliage, making this beautiful spiral pattern. And I have one more. This one is by Pete Mondrian, and to me, the patchiness of the background indicates that he drew the branches first, and then he used the negative space to thin and correct the form. Okay, so I'm going to just show you the fan brush first, and then I'll show you some other mark making techniques, and then I'll show you colored pencils. So this is a fan brush, and I've pre-mixed some colors. Here's my visual reference of a tree, and I can see that the foliage at the top is lighter. So I could try with my fan brush, just pressing in where it's lighter on the tops of the clusters of foliage. You can mix different colors if I want to pull out different areas. But it should be lighter on the top and darker on the bottom. So that's a fan brush. You can always thin it and soften it if you want to with a little water. And smooth this one out. So you can decide how much or little texture you want. Try one more pass with my fan brush. Okay. So the fan brush makes marks, I'm just doing it on the background, that are slightly curved. Okay. Another way you could make the marks is just to stab the paint or stamp the paint. So I'm just going to press it on. And depending on what I use to make the marks, I can get different shapes. I'll use yellow just because it's very vivid, it will show up, so this makes smaller dots and patterns. For smaller leaves, another brush. So depending on the shape you want, you should always experiment, of course. You'll get different marks. So I'm doing little delicate leaves growing off my tree over here. Starting to be like spring. So just adding foliage where I want. Of course, I should pay attention to color. All right, and then this last one, the texture of the bark, I was thinking I would add molding paste to my paint. So remember, this is called molding paste. It can also be called light modeling paste. And I already mixed some already in with some brown, and I'm going to use a palette knife to make some texture in the bark. So I would be thinking about where the highlight and shadows are. So I'm going to pretend that there's like a highlight area on the side of the tree. I'm going to put it on. Graffito a little texture through. Build up some bark. So I'll try to end up with the mark I like, experimenting on this side. And again, if it's too rough and I don't like what happened, I can always come in and soften it with a little water in some places. So I'm trying to experiment with different textures. There. can even put the modeling paste on with the, let me try it with this one. What texture would I get with this brush? So maybe that sort of pattern might work better. Okay, so experimentation. I have a birch tree that I did the underpainting for, and again I would experiment. So I'm trying a dry brush technique. So I'm going to just brush it on the side and see, I kind of like that, and I can look at my photo and I can try to get some of the textures that are in the birch. And I'm trying to think about the fact that the birch tree curves around to give you a sense of the volume of the tree. And there are some areas in the birch that are darker, so I probably would vary them. And of course, because the paint is wet on dry, if I get it where I don't want it, I can clean it up, or I can soften the wet areas and blend a little more. And I can always layer the color. Experimentation is key. Okay, final thing. Pine tree, palm tree. All right, so if this palm tree was going to have a sun behind it, and I was painting this, it would probably be a silhouette, just all black with a little matte medium. But I decided to do a sunny day one, and I did my big shapes and medium shapes, just loosely and gesturally. And at this point, I'm going to switch to colored pencil because it's really hard to make fine lines. So I've grabbed some colored pencils I like, and I'm just going to go ahead and add some of the details within. So I'm looking at my reference and coming in and deciding where I want lights and darks. So I might draw the spine of this one in. Colored pencils mix, so that's kind of garish. I can come over with another color and soften it. I can make marks. They're in any shape I want, which I like. And the colored pencils tend to be opaque, so they'll show up against your fronds. Come in this area, there's some dark stripes. Oops, that's not bright enough, let me switch. That shows up better. So you can mix the colors to get what you want and extend. And of course your underpainting would be done first, so that when you came in and did your palm fronds, you don't have to worry about painting in later the little bits of blue. So I'd play with this one a while, looking at how they grow. So I really like colored pencil with acrylic. I think it works really well. So that's the video.